Hi, thank you for watching this video. Here we want to talk about chapter 2, what the Messiah should say and do now. So section 4 is about the true work of the Messiah to protect peace on earth. And I think one of the key sentences are here. He said, if there is something that could deter materialistic scientism, one would be to have faith in God who thinks about the entire earth. When there's a group of people whose faith transcends ethnic groups and nations, it will prove to be a strong deterrent. This is certain.
So the title of this section is Have Faith in God of the Earth to Stop the Evil of Materialism and Scientism. Why is it important to stop materialism and scientism? That is because science and technology do not clearly outline what is good and what is evil. Master mentions on page 76 that people who believe in conventional religions could face severe hardships when a non-religious, materialistic, atheistic country that believes in science becomes the following: thinks nothing of evil and controls people's thoughts with ideas such as good and evil don't exist, and winning is good, losing is evil, makes their citizens believe patriotism for their country is good, and good is when their country wins, and evil is when their country loses, as well as suppress free speech, controls the press and censors information, restricts freedom of movement and freedom of occupation for foreigners, and becomes able to exist independent by itself. This is a very clear warning about what people are facing from the materialistic and atheistic forces that are here on this earth now.
And after that, Master talks about, on page 77, he said, therefore, what I must say on what the Messiah should say and do now is the following. If Japan holds on to the idea that the world will be at peace as long as Japan keeps its claws clipped and defangs itself based on a repentant view of history stemming from long-held post-war values, then we are approaching the time when Japan can no longer ever protect its own peace or the world's peace. This is one point. Yeah, because Japan, I grew up in Japan. I think we do have this tendency of trying not to do, avoiding the conflicts in a negative meaning, like this. Yeah, not making, or not stating what's justice, what's not, and what's not. And then he says Japan's thoughtlessness from post-war reproaches and its approaching threat. One of the great thing about Master Okawa is, he gives guidance like this, and he doesn't just, keep saying or giving us the guidance, but in 2009, he created Happiness Realization Party, which is a political party in Japan. Master Okawa started very active movement in Japan. And now, especially now after, more than 10 years, we can see, wow, Master Okawa knew what was going to happen in the next 10 years, which is happening now already, of, suppression of freedom in different countries, and how Japan, the Japanese politicians, they only think about their own terms, their survival, and they don't actually care much about what needs to be done as a developed country.
So by establishing this political party, we are really able to learn that what is good politics and what is not good politics. We are able to understand how the thinking that is required for good politicians to have in order to raise their country in the right direction with freedom, democracy and faith. So by Master Okawa, a religious leader, creating a political party, it's very significant in history because this corrects the post-war values or post-war beliefs of politics and religion together are evil. So in this chapter, Master has given us many examples relating to the history of atomic bombs in Japan. However, he's also given us many teachings about Japanese Father God and spiritual messages from Japanese figures. Why is that?
So by revealing about Ame no Miyoyagami, the Japanese Father God, and revealing the teachings, which is from 30,000 years ago, which is impossible to find out about, more details without Master Okawa's great enlightenment and the spiritual ability. He's really trying to bring peace, because revealing the source of these teachings from Ame no Miyoyagami, the Japanese Father God, is he said is the only way to truly bring peace to the surrounding countries as well, because of course there's no such countries as evil countries, but just the teachings are forgotten. With the great ability of Master Okawa's enlightenment, he's giving us many spiritual messages from different figures, as Maxine said. You can really, from a really big pictures, you can see how these wrong view or history were created through wrong perspectives. I hope it makes sense, but Master Okawa is really giving us more clearer views of this wrong post-war thinking that Japanese have still, and trying to correct it by revealing the true wisdom from the history and from different prophets and messiahs. And I think it's important to learn that.
Master Okawa gives the example that history teaches us that when a powerful nation appears, it really annihilates nations. Whether it was Greece in the past or Israel, the Jewish kingdom before that, they really were destroyed, colonized, or enslaved. This also happened in the Middle Ages. An empire called Yuan, Mongol, advanced all the way into Europe, occupied the Korean Peninsula, and then pushed into Japan. Japan fought back twice and protected the country in the Kamakura period. This is why Japan exists today. At the end of this section on page 80, Master Okawa mentions that the Japanese Communist Party claims that they are different from the CCP. They often speak about opposing the CCP, but I do not know what they are really thinking. They are probably trying to keep the distance, perhaps afraid that if they align themselves completely with the CCP, they will have to abolish Japan's imperial system, and if they say so, they will not win Japan's elections. I think this is really interesting to learn from, because Master Okawa is giving us a perspective on how we can think about politics and why communism doesn't work, and build righteous politics. We need to have what conventional religions teach, because materialistic and scientific thinking cannot decide good and evil. They cannot discern good and evil. So in order for politics to really function, then this faith that Master Okawa, through Happy Science, the teachings of Happy Science, will help you protect your country through the eyes of God and with the will of God. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you in our next one. Thank you.